Only a few years ago, the Eskimo and his dog team were the sole method of travel and supply in the Arctic. Man and his very existence were definitely limited by the strength and endurance of his dogs. Today, man has erased these limitations. 11 huge machines weighing 330,000 pounds each roar where the dog team labored under a 200-pound load. 600 diesel horsepower has taken the place of 7 Huskies. But mere size means nothing in the Arctic. Quality and it means much more. The guts or chassis to stand the sudden jolt when 165 tons plunge through the river ice. The power when and where needed to pull out. The ability to work and ride through water, ice, snow, under conditions far beyond any known testing standards. Twisting, turning, 24 hours a day. This is the record of such an accomplishment by a convoy of Mack trucks into the heart of the Arctic, carrying essential materials to the network of radar stations so vital to the defense of the Western Hemisphere. This is a chapter in the history of the land where man is closer to his God, as he battles on, night and day, sometimes to tragedy, even death. The Arctic is truly a land of deceptive beauty, treacherous appeal. Rivers clutch hungrily at the trucks. Deep snows swallow them. Fear and luck are partners as the Arctic Ocean cracks and all but gobbles up one of the convoy. In the Arctic, the game is for keeps. There's no second guessing, no quitting. Men depend on men and machines. This is a record attesting to the heart and spirit of man, and the endurance and quality of manufacture. The story of the delivery of cement and steel by 11 Mack trucks to the dew line. When the winter weather is good in the Arctic, it is dazzling and transforms impassable swamps into an encrusted world of grotesque statues. Lakes and rivers are stilled, valleys and ridges leveled by snows. It's the only time you can move across this world. Any venture into the Arctic demands thorough preparation. At Allentown, Pennsylvania, for instance, the huge Mack trucks roll out of the manufacturing plant, and because of their tremendous size, must be shipped by rail to Seattle. Here along Puget Sound, the tractors are serviced and winterized, thoroughly checked. And then the Alaska Freight Lines takes over, barging all equipment, materials, and supplies to Valdez, Alaska, and on up the highway to the project's assembly depot at Eagle on the Yukon River. You join the expedition at Eagle, and as a member, study the only available map. You're so unfamiliar with the area, it's like looking at a new world. Far to the north and east, the dew line objectives stretch along the 70th degree parallel. In between, an uncharted land of mystery. Following the trail which the advance crew has carved and gouged across the wilderness, you weave in and out of 500-odd miles of unnamed mountain ranges, clear to the Mackenzie River. There, the convoy is to be refueled from an oil refinery at Norman Wells. Then you strike out north and east, skirting Great Bear Lake, out of the timberline onto the Barrens, the true Arctic. Coppermine, Coronation Gulf, fascinating fabled names you read about as a boy, and now you are heading there. At Eagle, equipment is checked and readied despite the 50 below zero weather. Time becomes more acute, for delivery must be completed before the dreaded thaws of breakup unlock the lakes and rivers and turn the tundra into a bog. Nothing is normal on this job. Imagine a tractor 12 1/2 feet wide, A trailer 65 feet in length with built-in tanks holding 5,500 gallons of diesel fuel. Tires 5 feet high. A 600 horsepower engine hauling the gross weight of 165 tons. 330,000 pounds to the top of the world. As you preheat the engine with hot air in order to start it in the cold, you realize nothing is ever normal for the Pioneer. The blast of the air starter is music to your ears. You've worked weeks to hear those engines roar. Long, cold weeks. It's a glorious moment to be on the way. Finally, on the way to the Arctic. You can't believe it. Hardly a mile from the depot. Didn't even have time to adjust the seat or light up a smoke. Working back and forth on the ice, you're keenly aware of the tremendous power at the instant command of your foot on the accelerator. Give those driving wheels a grip and you're moving. Perhaps the crash through was a good thing after all. You certainly have a great deal more confidence in the machine. What construction strength to withstand such a dropping jolt. What power. Plowing across the river, you're surprised at the comparative smooth ride over ridges and through holes. Settling back, you tell yourself, it's going to take a whale of a lot to stop this outfit. And now you're not half so scared of what lies ahead in the Arctic. Ice. Inevitable, treacherous ice. You fear and respect it. Wheels grind and slide. You watch the famous Mack four-wheel drive bogie at work. It gives you the ability to keep moving where other trucks would bog down. It's a good feeling to have the best on your team. You settle back confidently and silently thank the chaps back at the factories for their ingenuity. The miles are hard to come by, and each is entered in the logbook as a conquest. You're becoming accustomed to the constant din of the diesels, which are never cut dead except for brief servicing, for it would take many hours to get them heated and started again. You can't relax a moment. Wherever there's ice and snow, there's danger. Even in the picturesque crossing of rivers that steam in the extreme cold and instantly refreeze as soon as the convoy is passed. Your 12-hour shift seems much longer. You wonder, can it be done? And in time. Even with a surprisingly good trail the gang carved out of this wilderness, it's a tough, rough go. And no one has ever been anywhere in this country before with a truck. These are valuable days for your learning. Through the experience of working together, you and the other drivers are forming a team, knitting your skills and hopes. You're learning more about handling, caring for the trucks, and all the while you're inching into the Arctic. It's 62 degrees below the morning you climb up into the open to find mountains stretching in all directions, spectacularly beautiful ranges, but ominous of rough going ahead. It's cold, real cold. Yet you're thankful the expected high winds and deep snows of the altitude have not yet materialized. Other drivers guide as one by one you weave the lengthy giants around sharp curves. A foot too far, and you'd topple thousands of feet to the valley. So you crawl along, hugging, clinging to the mountain, all the while loudly cursing the trail building crew and emphasizing their mountain goat ancestry. Gradually, you climb up out of the Yukon River Valley and head toward the Hump, a 5,000-foot pass that leads to the Peel River watershed. You're in Canada now, the Yukon Territory to be exact. You feel good, and write home about getting somewhere. From the air, the Arctic is a picture world, and 500, 800 miles pass beneath quickly, beautifully. Even the trail looks straight and smooth, the very trail that caused torturous weeks of work and heartache. Beyond the Mackenzie, the Arctic slope stretches endlessly ahead. You had thought maybe that's where the good going is. Maybe. But the Arctic is not a land of maybe. It's terrifyingly harsh and factual, fantastically rough. It beats, dulls, crushes until you're an automaton. Jouncing, bouncing along, you realize you are traveling the Arctic in luxury. The warmth and comforts of the cab, the wonderful meals and a bunk in the Wannigans, riding over tons of steel on the trailers. Outside, even the wolves and the polar bears are scarce in this forsaken land. You are in a world of your own, dark and more fearsome at night. And on nearing the magnetic North Pole, the radio becomes unreliable. You're alone, very much so. Then there are the dreaded 50-50 days when it's 50 below and a 50-mile wind whips the snow horizontally. You work quickly with servicing on those days, very quickly. And if it's necessary to get a supply of ice to melt into water, you always keep the convoy in sight, for the Arctic feasts on lost men. lose track of time, distance. You even stop wondering if you'll get through. It's almost as though you don't care. The terrain is much worse and the pace slower. You're awed by the vast expanse of nothing that is known as the barren lands. You're tired of doing everything the hard way. Everything. You dream of home, but then you feel further away than ever. What's this? Boulders and rocks as far as you can see. And you thought the Arctic was just a land of ice and snow. You watch the trail-building bulldozers battle their way inch by inch, and your heart sinks. Yet you can't stay here or turn around. You drive on, jarring, jolting, struggling. Can the trucks take it? You expect to hear a giant crash any instant as the going gets rougher, and the punishment on the construction of the trucks becomes unbelievable. You grind and crawl ahead over the boulders and into deep holes in the ice. You wouldn't have believed any chassis could stand this wrenching. Yet it does, and you crawl on. The Arctic is hitting you from all sides now, and it hurts. Unwillingly, you become experts at unloading the cargo, even to the incredulous job of snaking out over 60 tons of steel from under the bunkhouse. You wonder what impossible chore will be next as you heat the jack so it'll automatically, silently. You hate it. You find yourself listening for the plane. It's a big day when it does buzz the convoy. Even the off-duty crews scramble out of the bunkhouse. It doesn't come so often now, as you're more than 1,000 miles from the base. But it still means mail from home. A new face, perhaps. Maybe fresh vegetables. Even a cargo of tools and parts. And there's always the bush pilot's gossip. It's a break in the routine, and you love it. Weather permitting, the pilot checks landmarks ahead, which are carefully noted on a map and used as directional beacons. In this country, a compass is useless. The road is plowed by dead reckoning and where the going is easiest. Nearing the Arctic Ocean, you're surprised by unusually deep snows. But now you have the bit in your teeth. You know you're going to make it. The very thought is exciting. You sleep and eat better. You joke about driving over the ocean ice in high gear and call it high glee. Gripes fade and laughs are louder. And you and your machine are going to make it, come hell or the Arctic. never forget the day you roll out on the Arctic Ocean ice. Now you have it licked. The sights are along the coast, and you can run the ice for another 2 weeks at least. And the visit of the seal-hunting Eskimo from Coppermine. You enjoy his evident surprise and utter amazement. You tell him jokingly of the bulldog conquering the Arctic. He replies agreeably, "Many dogs, many dogs." From an Eskimo, that's tops. Unleashing its full fury, the Arctic roars in as you discharge the drums of cement and bars of steel at the first sight of the dew line. But you are warm with a deep satisfaction of accomplishment. You and the convoy are on top of the world, delivering the essential supplies. As you discharge cargo at one site and prepare to roll on to another, you're aware that you and the Macks have far more than delivered a cargo for defense. You have also pioneered a method of Arctic transportation, opening up and developing a vast new world of unlimited potentialities, the Arctic.